What's up everybody, it's RobinGaming here. So a question I've really been asking myself lately is how should a game series end? I mean, I've thought a bit about, for example, Uncharted 4 that is coming out next year, which is most likely, at least that's what Naughty Dog is indicating right now, going to be the final game in the series. And of course we've had the whole debacle with a few games like Mass Effect, which was in 2012 when Mass Effect 3 came out. I mean, the game itself was great. They already said it was going to be the final game of the trilogy, right? The game itself, like I said, was great, but then just the ending, the final 5 to 10 minutes of the game were incredibly disappointing to people, where they'd been making, you know, choices for these 3 games that had been out. It was this full 100-hour adventure that they'd been playing, and then in the end you just get this disappointing, ambiguous kind of ending that's, you know, also where your choices didn't really have any impact whatsoever. Yeah, I can understand why people were so, you know, upset about that ending in itself. And then they had, of course, the new ending that came out afterwards as DLC. Wasn't really that much better, but I guess, you know, it was slightly probably. But yeah, I mean, why I'm really talking about this topic today especially is because I beat Metal Gear Solid, and many of you will know I started the series about a few weeks back. I played all 4 of the main games now, and I beat Metal Gear Solid 4 2 days ago. And I thought that the game was just one big ode to the series. It was absolutely incredible, I thought at least. I realized that if I had been playing Metal Gear Solid since 1998 when the first Metal Gear Solid came out, or even before that, you know, they had the Metal Gear games actually that are also part of the franchise itself. But I realized that if I had been this big Metal Gear Solid fan from the start, this would have probably been the ending, the final game I could have possibly just hoped for. I mean, it was perfect in every single way, I thought, at least in terms of the story. Not only did they have, for example, recurring characters, just characters that came back from previous games, some that you did expect, some that you actually didn't expect, that were real surprises. There was one part in particular, and I'm gonna slightly spoil this, although I won't, you know, have too big of spoilers in it. But yeah, the 4th chapter of the game has you returning to the area you played in the first Metal Gear Solid game, the game that came out on the PlayStation 1. And surprisingly, I'd actually play that game as well, even though I normally have a hard time returning to PS1 games, or PS2 actually as well. But you just, like, what they did was they remade that whole area where it would look, you know, absolutely normal, absolutely beautiful for a PlayStation 3 game. But you really remembered it, you know, as this PS1 area, and coming back to that was just one total, you know, nostalgia kind of yeah, experience. It was absolutely insane, I thought. And yeah, once again there I realized that had I played Metal Gear Solid 1 in the time it came out on the PlayStation 1, this would have even been more of a surprise, of an incredible kind of thing that they did in the game itself. Of course, then there's also the soundtrack, which, you know, you've been listening to since the very first game, and although they did have different tunes with every single game, they made a lot of the songs return in this one, in this final game. And the ending itself overall, although the ending was probably like over an hour long, which is just insane, it was totally what I could, you know, hope for. It was absolutely one big ode to the fans, to the games itself. There was just a lot of fan service in that game, and although you could argue that maybe a bit too much of fan service isn't really a good thing either, because yeah, maybe it wasn't like the original vision of the person who made the whole story, who came up with it, who actually had to like alter it just because of fans or whatever. But then again, you know, I just thought that as a fan of that series, you couldn't have possibly hoped for anything better than that. It did come with some plot holes, but that's the sacrifice you gotta make for it. And overall, I realized that, yeah, if you want to end your game series in a very good way these days, it's just through a lot of fan service. Coming back with characters that you knew, a soundtrack, maybe, you know, areas that you revisit one more time and that look even better, and you know, where you're just revisiting all these great memories that you had of a game. That's just awesome. That's totally what real fans of a series would want. And therefore I have to say that, yeah, Metal Gear Solid 4 was a great game, was just an absolutely incredible experience once again. So that's probably how you should end the game series in my eyes. I hope Uncharted 4 is going to do something similar to that, where you realize that everything you did in the first 3 games is coming back to this, does still have an impact at some level at least, and of course the characters will return, some soundtrack maybe. Just overall make it a big nostalgia trip, at the same time do a lot of new stuff, make one final big epic adventure, and then it's just, you know, you're bound to get fans really happy. So that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about today. So I will actually have another video up today which will be about The Last of Us on the PlayStation 4, and whether it's sad that that seems to right now be the best game out on the PlayStation 4. So check that out if you can, and then for now I'd like to thank you a lot for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.